the bill to release the Epstein files could be on President Trump's desk as soon as tonight.
All right, folks, buckle up because Congress just did something nobody expected. A 427-1 vote to release the Epstein files. And somehow the media's spinning this like it's all an attack on Trump. CNN is practically hyperventilating on air. We've got Manu Raju sprinting around Capitol Hill like he spotted Bigfoot, reporters grilling Trump like he personally drafted Epstein's flight logs, and panels acting like this is the Republicans grow a spine moment. So today we're watching CNN absolutely melt down while pretending they're the brave truth tellers. And I'm going to break down exactly what's being said and what's really going on because trust me, their framing is wild. Let's jump in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Arena. I'm Casey Hunt. It's wonderful to have you with us on this Tuesday. A wave of stunning developments on Capitol Hill. The House voting overwhelmingly to release the Epstein files. And now the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, says that since it has the president's support, he could hold a vote as soon as today. Let's get off the sidelines and head into the arena. My panel is here. We're also going to start with CNN Chief Congressional Correspondent Manu Raju and CNN Senior White House Correspondent Kristen Holmes. Manu, first to you. This timeline, pretty quick. Now, Manu appears to be talking to Thomas Massie, so maybe we'll just listen in to this for a second.
Right, not just to do a discharge petition and get it passed through the House, but to get the Senate to pass it and get the White House to sign it. We're not there yet, but when we get there, this is not a subpoena. This is a law.
Thomas Massie dropping straight facts, and honestly, I respect it. You can't wiggle out of a law the same way the DOJ has wiggled out of subpoenas for years. When Massie says this is not a subpoena, this is a law, that's basically him saying, hey, FBI, DOJ, put down the shredder, no more games. And CNN hates that. You can practically hear them panicking. They liked it better when Epstein's entire operation existed in a fog of, oops, we misplaced those documents, or sorry, sealed forever. Massie's saying, nope, time's up. And notice how quickly the media jumps to the Trump might resist this narrative. They can't help themselves. They need this to be about Trump, even though the list is filled with Democrats, billionaires, global elites, and their celebrity friends. Massie basically says they'll read the names out loud on the House floor if necessary. Imagine C-SPAN suddenly turning into a boss-level call-out session. I'd watch that like the Super Bowl.
And so you are confident that these documents will ultimately come out, even if the president tries to fight this?
Yes, I'm confident. And that we sort of, we know when they're out because we know what some of these lists, who some of the men are. I don't have the names in my head right now. The ultimate thing that we could do is read the names on the floor of the House, and that could happen, but what needs to happen is the FBI needs to release these names.
Is that something you might do if he resists this, if the DOJ releases this? Could you go to the floor and read these names?
We absolutely would do that. Marjorie would do that. I would do that. There are Democrats who would do that. And but that's not the right path forward. That's the last effort if we hit all of the walls. But so far, we're making it through the walls and over the walls, and we're getting this done.
How much time are you willing to give the president and the administration to release these documents when this becomes law?
I've never set a timeline. The victims have waited a very long time to get justice, and it's really up to them.
All right, thank you. All right, I know that we're on with you, Casey. As I walk back to you and to talk to you about the conversation that I just had with Thomas Massie, you caught the end of it right there, but we talked a little bit beforehand. I talked to you a little about just the whiplash that we are experiencing here in Washington, from going from it looking like that this bill, it was unclear when the vote would happen in the House. It appeared that they were going to try to push this until early December for a vote. It appeared that it was dead in the United States Senate. And then suddenly the president reversing course, saying that, yes, Republicans should vote for this. And then the speaker begrudgingly voting for this. And then the 427-1 vote in the House today. And now the expectation that the United States Senate could pass this bill unanimously tonight, which seems like a very, very likely possibility to do that, even as the Senate Majority Leader John Thune just a few weeks ago was throwing cold water on moving ahead with this because the president was opposed to this flatly. And I asked him about why this happened. He said what happened here was that the president pitted his base against Republicans in Congress, and the Republicans in Congress could not buck the base.
Oh, here we go. CNN's favorite fantasy storyline. Republicans only change their votes because Trump's base forced them to. Yeah, that's called democracy. The base is literally the voters. CNN acts like it's some hostage situation when Republicans actually listen to their own constituents. Meanwhile, Democrats follow whatever their donors text them at 3 a.m., and CNN calls it courage. And the idea that Trump lost here is hilarious. The base wanted transparency. Congress realized the base wasn't backing down, so Trump said, fine, bring it on. That's not losing, that's syncing up with the voters. The left hears the base pushed Congress and treats it like it's scandal. The right hears it and says, good, that's the point.
Of the party, and that's why he saw this shift. And he also said that he sensed that the party would be in dire straits heading into the midterm elections if they were seen to be on the side of covering up in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking ring. So the political dynamic, in Thomas Massey's view, helped change what happened here over the last 24 to 48 hours in a really remarkable turnaround here, where we're now seeing this bill on its way to becoming law potentially as soon as tonight because of the shift in politics and the president essentially joining the rest of his party after fighting against this bill for some time.
Yeah, I saw the train leaving the station. Manu Raju, doing what you do best. Thank you very much for that. Kristen, is the president going to sign this, and are they prepared to do that tonight?
Well, look, President Trump committed yesterday to signing this bill if it landed on his desk. Now, it doesn't seem as though he believed it was going to be moving this quickly. He also said that they would wait and see what happened in the Senate. But as this is picking up momentum, I talked to White House officials who say that he is pledging to sign that bill. Now, of course, anything is possible once the bill is actually on his desk. And again, the White House was not expecting this to move so quickly. In fact, just over a week ago, they didn't think this was going to happen at all. They thought that they were doing a good job at trying to keep this vote from happening, trying to keep Republicans from going all in. But it became clear to President Trump on Friday that he was going to lose when it came to this issue, that the vote was not only going to happen, it was going to pass in the House, and likely by a large margin, which of course we saw to be true, which then you saw President Trump reversing course. Now, I have spoken to a number of White House officials who say that they fully expect that after this is passed, there will be new documents released by the Department of Justice. What exactly is released and when, that still remains a question. But you could see today President Trump sitting in a meeting, getting asked questions by a reporter on the Epstein files, on the release of these documents, growing more and more irritated. This is something that has plagued him for much of his second term. This is his interaction with the reporter who pressed on Epstein.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. Your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC. I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you.
Now, it's not that surprising to see President Trump talk to a reporter like that, but it has grown increasingly likely when he is getting questions about Epstein. Just over the weekend, when another reporter was pressing him on questions related to Epstein, he said, "Quiet piggy," to that reporter before then turning to another reporter to take questions on Venezuela. This has clearly gotten underneath his skin. But again, I am told by White House officials that if this lands on his desk, he's planning on signing it. They do expect more documents to be released, but there are still questions as to what exactly is going to be released and when.
All right, Kristen Holmes, Manu Raju, thank you both very much for getting us started. Our panel is here in the arena. CNN political analyst, White House correspondent for the New York Times, Zolan Kano-Youngs is here. CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel, former Biden White House communications director Kate Bedingfield, and the Republican strategist Brad Todd, both CNN political commentators. Thank you all for being here. Jamie, you were watching that exchange between the ABC reporter Mary Bruce and the president, and then, of course, there was the comment that he made the night before on the plane What is your assessment of why the president reacted the way he did?
Let's be clear, he didn't like the question. And that's what he does. When he doesn't like the question, he attacks people. Donald Trump lost today. He hates that word, loser.
Classic CNN panel moment. They can't help themselves. They always have to toss in a little personal insult to make themselves feel better. Trump lost today. No, he didn't. Losing would be hiding the files. Losing would be blocking transparency. Signing this bill actually helps Trump politically because it exposes the very people who spent years smearing him, investigating him, and calling him every name in the book. If Epstein files hurt Trump, the media wouldn't be so desperate to read his reaction instead of the actual list. When someone says, Trump looks guilty, what they're really saying is, please, dear God, let one of these names be Trump so we don't have to explain why Bill Clinton was on the plane numerous times. And then they pretend Marjorie Taylor Greene saying MAGA is being torn apart is some deep philosophical crisis. No, it's called family arguing at the dinner table. Try watching Democrats when Kamala walks into a room. That's an actual crisis.
And let's be clear, he was forced to change his position to save face because the votes were going against him. I think one question is this the turning point? Is this the moment when the Republicans get their spine back? I think the answer is maybe. Donald Trump is a survivor. He has survived January 6th and 2 impeachments.
And there you have it, CNN spinning harder than a washing machine on turbo cycle. The vote was 427 to 1. The base wants transparency. Republicans finally aligned with their voters. Trump agreed to sign the bill, and now the establishment media is panicking because they know exactly who might be exposed when those names drop. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about MAGA infighting. This is about the elites, left and right, finally being forced into the sunlight. If you're enjoying the breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Who do you think is sweating right now? More coming soon. Stay tuned.